Right now in News 3, a battle at the state capitol. Republican lawmakers trying to pass a handful of controversial bills before Governor-elect Tony Evers is sworn in.
And a final farewell for the 41st President of the United States, who's now lying in state at the U.S. Capitol building.
And later, a multi-year renovation impacting traffic downtown. What to expect over the next few years. That's coming up.
This is News 3 at 10.
Thank you for joining us tonight. It's a month until Democrats take over the State House and State Department of Justice.
Top Republican leaders are trying to take away some of their power through a series of controversial proposals. News 3's Rose Schmidt joins us live in the Capitol with the public's reaction to these plans tonight. Rose?
That's right. It's been a night filled with debate, public outcry, and protests over these proposals from Republicans. Before Tony Evers and Josh Kaul are even sworn in, these proposals aiming to take away their power. Capitol Police had to remove several protesters from a contentious public hearing of the state's Budget Committee after outbursts. That committee has been debating and hearing from the public for 7 hours now, after 6 bills are being taken up during this lame duck session. Protesters chanted "Respect our votes" as they banged on the hearing room doors. Hundreds of people filled up the hearing room and several overflow rooms waiting to testify and weigh in on the Republicans' proposals.
These bills presented by the Republican leadership to weaken Tony Evers and Josh Kaul are not to help Wisconsin, but rather to help the Republican Party.
You're stealing from the people and you're denying the will of the people, of the majority, and rule by the minority is not a democracy.
Earlier today, Republican legislative leaders spoke to reporters saying they are not sure they have the support to pass all of these plans, but their focus is on what they call balance of powers between the executive and legislative branches.
We want to ensure that the new administration doesn't try to work around the legislature and rule from the East Wing.
I'm concerned. I think that Governor-elect Evers is going to bring a liberal agenda to Wisconsin.
These provisions would...
Democrats insist that attempts to take over power from members of the incoming administration are unprecedented. The last time there was a lame duck session in Wisconsin was in 2010, when Democrats tried to pass union contracts before Governor Walker and Republicans took power over the state legislature. Now, public testimony on the Joint Finance Committee is now winding down tonight, and then after that, that committee will take a vote on these bills, but that could take several hours. The full Senate and Assembly are expected to take them up on the floor tomorrow.
Rose Schmidt live at the Capitol tonight. Rose, thank you. Another controversial bill would move the 2020 presidential primary to March to help a conservative Supreme Court candidate. The Elections Commission sending written testimony now to the Finance Committee, calling the proposal, quote, extraordinarily difficult, estimating a cost of at least $7 million and causing a logistical nightmare.
During an event in Wausau today, Governor-elect Tony Evers is calling the bills an attempted last-minute power grab by Republicans, while Governor Walker, during the state menorah lighting ceremony, says the legislature is fulfilling its responsibility to serve out its full term.
Our term goes through January. The difference is that some people mistakenly think that a term ends after the election. It doesn't. Term of office goes through January 7th for me, for all 99 members of the State Assembly, for approximately half of the members of the State Senate.
November 6th, we had a change. The people of Wisconsin voted for a change. They voted for me for governor and Josh Kaul for the Attorney General. And I believe this is just an opportunity to turn back the clock and to nullify the impact of the vote.
Outside the state capitol this evening, hundreds of people who oppose these bills let their voices be heard during a so-called Respect My Vote rally. Protesters say the elected officials who are a part of these proceedings are refusing to accept the election results. Again, the state Senate and Assembly are expected to take up the bills tomorrow. The body of President George H.W. Bush is in Washington, D.C. for the very last time.
Right now, he is lying in state at the nation's capital for 24 hours before his burial later this week. A 21-gun salute welcomed the 41st president of the nation's capital this afternoon. Well-wishers lined the streets to wave and watch the procession to the Capitol building. Speaker of the House Paul Ryan offering some words during the ceremony.
In consequential times, George Herbert Walker Bush demonstrated the finest qualities of our nation and of humankind. a great leader, and a good man.
Tonight, side by side, the president and first lady paid their respects. On Thursday, President Bush will be buried in Texas on the grounds of his presidential library in Houston.
Funeral services will be held tomorrow. Madison Bishop Robert Morlino, he passed away November 24th after suffering an apparent heart attack. Visitation is at 9 a.m. at St. Maria Goretti on Madison's west side. The funeral will follow at 11. Throughout the day today, mourners paid their respects at a vigil and visitation. A silver alert has been issued for a missing 86-year-old man. Roger Willing is from Beloit, but was last seen in Madison wearing a lightweight black Columbia jacket and blue jeans. He was driving a gray 2007 four-door Pontiac G6. The license plate is 800 WXA. Now, anyone with information is asked to call City of Beloit Police Department.
We do have some cold days ahead. Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti with our first alert forecast. Gary?
Yeah, we'll get used to it. Temperatures are going to stay below normal through the rest of this week and at least for the first half of next week. As we take a look at weather tracking, you can see lots of clouds, not much in the way of precipitation other than some lake effect snow showers downwind from Lake Michigan into northwestern Indiana. Low temperatures this morning started out in the 20s to around 30 degrees, although some of these may be the current temperatures. Our high temperatures today up around 30 degrees, give or take a degree or two either direction. And those current temperatures very close, if not at the low temperature levels for today. The wind chills right now, not too bad. The winds aren't very brisk, so wind chills generally are in the upper teens to the lower 20s. By tomorrow morning, look for temperatures to be in the lower 20s. Skies will stay cloudy through the day tomorrow. Our high temperature will top out at 29. That's your first alert forecast.
Gary, thank you. An 18-year-old Middleton student is out on signature bond tonight after making his first court appearance on allegations that he sexually assaulted a minor. A criminal complaint alleges 18-year-old Mohammed Altashak and an unnamed 16-year-old boy assaulted their classmate, a 14-year-old girl, after they had all smoked marijuana together in a home in the town of Middleton on November 21st. Court documents suggest the victim says the two both assaulted her separately more than once and that she was so impaired she could not refuse. 2 children among 4 injured this morning when a car ran a stop sign, hit a school bus in Shawano County in northeastern Wisconsin. The 2 children and the bus driver were hospitalized for their injuries but are expected to recover. The 16-year-old driver of the car was treated at the scene.
The University of Wisconsin will ask the Board of Regents to approve a 3% pay increase for employees over the next 2 years. UW System President Ray Cross will recommend the Regents approve the increase starting July 1st. UW employees have not received a pay increase in 5 of the last 8 years. Expect road closures for the next 3 years as UW Chemistry Building undergoes some major upgrades.
Those closures started today at North Charter and North Mills. Keely Arthur joins us now with more details about this project. Keely?
Yeah, this is a $133 million addition and renovation project at UW's Chemistry Building. Officials say it's to keep up with demand and the times. Part of the building is being demolished to make way for a new tower, which includes 12 new teaching labs. 3 floors of the existing facility will also get a facelift. Now, this is the first major update to the building since the 70s.
We've seen a tremendous increase in enrollment in the science, technology, engineering, mathematics disciplines in the last 20 years. And we're completely bursting at the seams in terms of our ability to handle the enrollment. And then also there's a very significant safety consideration to modernize our facility as well.
Officials hope this will make UW the gold standard for chemistry facilities and instruction. For more details on how this could affect your commute, go to channel3000.com.
Keely Arthur reporting. Keely, thank you.
The long-planned Madison Public Market will be changing locations again. The $13 million project was supposed to be built at the corner of East Washington Avenue and 1st Street. Now it'll go up in the city's Fleet Building about a block away. This area will be renovated to meet the market's needs. City leaders say the decision was driven primarily by cost.
Making the building affordable is critical. We cannot put our operators in a difficult position in regards to the cost of the space. We own this building, and that gives us a tremendous advantage.
Officials say the $13 million for the market set aside in the 2019 capital budget will still be enough. Construction is set to begin in 2020 and end in 2021. We have a stretch of cold but quiet days ahead. Gary has your first alert forecast.
The first, a growing number of scams targeting elderly residents. How to protect yourself and your family, next at 10.
Welcome back. Imagine looking to get your printer fixed online and ending up more than $75,000 in the red.
Whether by internet or by phone, police are investigating more reports of scams. The Madison PD has nearly 900 fraud offenses on file this year, many targeting seniors, some robbing Madison residents of tens of thousands of dollars. Madeline O'Neill on how to keep your money safe.
I sounded vulnerable to them, I think.
It doesn't matter where you are.
Next door, 2 states away, who knows?
Scammers can find you.
I got a phone call, and I was traveling with my daughter out of state.
Wanakee resident Patty Sullivan was with her daughter in Shenandoah National Park this October when she picked up a phone call that got her turned around.
And they're so thorough in being sure you have all the details.
A man called saying an arrest warrant was about to go out because of tax errors if she didn't pay more than $5,000. He gave Sullivan's personal information, including address and zip code, along with the involved officer's name and case number.
I mean, heavens, so authentic sounding.
That kind of call is ringing on phones across Madison.
Another one here.
Detective Daryl Monroe of the Madison Police Department says they hear from 2 or 3 scam victims a week citywide. So commonplace now that what used to surprise him no longer does.
It makes me worried that these poor victims may end up out on the street because the dollar amounts that we're seeing there, sometimes those are entire life savings that people have lost.
In tax scams similar to Sullivan's, one victim lost $11,000. In a catfishing scam online, another victim sent her fake Army boyfriend $55,000.
It's worse.
Another victim was simply looking to fix their printer, called the wrong company, and got roped into a money-making scheme.
This poor person was out over $76,000. The majority of the victims that I see in reports come across my desk are seniors. And they are, unfortunately, they're very vulnerable, and people are taking advantage of them.
I think it's sad that people are making a living doing this, scamming us.
When Sullivan was speaking to the scammer, she knew something was fishy.
I just was the proverbial I don't understand person.
But she also knew that others in her position could easily take the bait.
I was shook up, and I knew what was going on.
So she used the same line again and again, thinking the more information she could get,
I don't understand you, I'm sorry,
the more likely she'd be able to help others recognize the scam for what it is. Despite another similar call, Sullivan wouldn't be hooked, and her $5,000 is safe. She went to police, and since she didn't fall victim, they didn't investigate. But even if she had, Detective Monroe says there's often not much of a lead to follow.
When I tell them, especially when these suspects are in a different country, that we can't do anything to help them, it's very heartbreaking.
No matter where the scammers are, Monroe says there are steps you can take to keep your money safe.
Try to use your common sense.
That includes checking with friends and family members and being aware of scams in the first place. So no matter where you are, you're ready.
I can see how anybody who had money, who fell for it, who was really scared, would send them money however way they wanted it before they hung up that phone, and it's frightening.
In Madison, Madeline O'Neill, WISC News 3.
Well, they can be very convincing, but as always, they say if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
A victim in Madison got scammed out of $21,000 after being told she won $250,000, but had to pay fees to get that prize.
All right, we turn now to our forecast. As Gary said, get used to the cold weather. Gary?
But at least it's just cold. Remember what happened on this day back in 1990? A little different story. It was cold, but it was snowy. In fact, it was the snowiest day ever in Madison. Record snowfall, 17.3 inches. I remember it well. I only started at the station about 3 months before. We had wind gusts in the morning to 64 miles per hour along with thunder snow. We had snow drifts to 7 feet. And just 1 week before that blizzard, we had a record high temperature of 65 degrees in Madison. So that shows you just how quickly the weather can change. Now, if you don't want to risk running into a blizzard and you're still looking for some holiday gifts, we have our Wisconsin weather calendar for sale. $13 for the calendar. Just send a check to WISC-TV 3 weather calendar, 7025 Raymond Road, Madison 53719, or you can order it online, madisonmagazine.com/weather-calendar. Now, as we go ahead and take a look at the current Doppler radar across the Midwest, lots of clouds, but very little in the way of precipitation other than some lake effect snow showers moving from Lake Michigan into northwestern Indiana, very typical for this time of year. Live view from the Edgewater Skycam in downtown Madison. No flakes of snow here, or at least not very many. I saw 1 or 2 when I was outside a little earlier. 31 the high for the day, low temperature 27, so the temperature hasn't moved very much. We're now at that low temperature for the day. Skies are mostly cloudy. That'll keep temperatures from falling too much. The winds out of the north at 5 miles per hour. Dew point temperature at 19. I'm thinking temperatures will probably bottom out in the lower 20s. And wind chills right now are right around 20 degrees. High temperatures over the next 7 days below the average high temperature, which drops from 34 to 32. In fact, by Friday, we might just barely hit 20 degrees with nighttime low temperatures in the single digits. But the 8 to 14-day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center calling for above normal temperatures through much of the eastern 2/3 of the country, with the highest probabilities right over our part of the Midwest. And precipitation is expected to be above normal, about a 50% chance of above normal precipitation across northern Illinois and much of Indiana, just to the south of us. So we get into a little more active weather pattern as we warm up. But snow depth right now, pretty widespread across the Midwest, especially to our north and west from the weekend storm. Parts of southeastern Minnesota between 6 and 9 inches of snow on the ground. Here in southern Wisconsin, about an inch or two, a little bit more in the northern parts of our viewing area. Weather track shows the northerly winds continuing to just drop the cold air into the Midwest, the main jet stream pushing to the south. So that just allows much of the northern part of the country to stay cold, and that weather trend will continue for the rest of this week. Overnight, look for a low of 22 degrees with mostly cloudy skies. For tomorrow, a high of 29 with cold weather continuing and west to northwesterly breezes. At least they won't be too strong. On future track, skies stay cloudy overnight. Temperatures drop into the lower 20s. High temperatures tomorrow, upper 20s with plenty of clouds through the day. Tomorrow night, we'll probably see some breaks in the clouds toward morning. That will allow temperatures to drop into the upper teens. And Wednesday, we'll see at least a little sunshine mixed in with the clouds. High temperatures, upper 20s to around 30 degrees. 7 to 10 day forecast, temperatures get even colder at the end of the week. As I mentioned, down to about 20 on Friday after an overnight low temperature of 8 degrees. Plenty of sunshine into the early part of next week. High temperatures in the lower 30s by Tuesday, and then some rain showers toward the end of the week. That could be mixed in with a little bit of snow, but all in all, a pretty quiet forecast, although it'll be a cold one at least through the middle of next week.
All right, Gary, thank you.
You're welcome.
Badger men's basketball team with its Big Ten home opener tonight against Rutgers at the Kohl Center. We'll show you how it turned out.
The Badger men's basketball team made a big jump in the national rankings today. Wisconsin went from 22nd to 12th in the Associated Press poll after its 7-1 start. Tonight, the Badgers try that new ranking on for size in their Big Ten home opener against Rutgers. And stop me if you've heard this one before. The Badgers fell behind, just like they always do. When Shaq Carter got the and one, it was 27-17 Rutgers, about 3 minutes left in the first half. Paging Mr. Happ, young Ethan put together a big second half. He ended the game with 20 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. He's the only player in the nation averaging over 17 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists a game. And if you need some big shots down the stretch, it's Demetric Trice again. He hit both of his three-point shots, scored 14 in the game. Final score, Wisconsin 69, Rutgers 64. Badgers defense a big part of the win tonight.
Honestly, it was super important to finally get some stops on defense, which turned into good offense. When we start getting stops, that kind of is a momentum shift for our offense, and then we can finally get the ball inside. We score a lot better once we get stops.
Wisconsin now 8-1 overall, 2-0 in the Big Ten. The Badgers made 54% of their shots tonight. Next up for the Badgers, a trip to Milwaukee Saturday to play the Marquette Golden Eagles at Fiserv Forum. They'll tip just after 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon. The Packers begin life after Mike McCarthy today after he was fired as head coach yesterday. The Packers won't make the playoffs for a second straight year, but yesterday's 20-17 loss to the Arizona Cardinals was the last straw. The Packers made the move to help McCarthy find a new job sooner and for the Packers to be in the running for any candidate that might be available. Team president Mark Murphy said today he knew the time had come to move on from Mike McCarthy.
I mean, Mike's had a great run here, and I don't think, I think it just, to me, it felt that it had run its course. It wasn't anything that he particularly did wrong. I think the change is needed now.
I believe in the guys in the locker room. You know, I really do. You know, each year is different, but there's talent in that locker room, and the team didn't perform to the expectations that we set for it. And I think that's kind of why we're here where we're at.
There's been a lot of talk about the fractured relationship between McCarthy and quarterback Aaron Rodgers, but today Rodgers did what he could to cool the speculation that he and McCarthy didn't get along.
As much as, you know, was made, conjectured about him and I's relationship, you know, it was always built on mutual respect and communication, and that's why this is a different day for myself and the guys in the locker room.
So offensive coordinator Joe Philbin is the Packers' interim head coach for the last 4 games of the season. Today is his 30th wedding anniversary. He had planned to take his wife out for a nice dinner tonight, but she understands why that didn't happen. Her husband has an awful lot of work to do this week. And only 3 college football players were invited to New York for Saturday's Heisman Trophy Award. They're all quarterbacks. Ohio State's Dwayne Haskins, Oklahoma's Kyler Murray, and Alabama's Tua Tagovailoa. Wisconsin's Jonathan Taylor not invited. And we'll be right back.
Gary's here with the final check of your forecast.
Just cold out there right now. I saw 1 or 2 flakes of snow when I was out there, but not really enough to show up on Doppler track. Temperatures right now, upper 20s. You can tell it's a little colder to the north and west where there have been some breaks in the clouds up toward Camp Douglas and Black River Falls. Also a little more snow on the ground there too. Wind chills right now, not much of a factor, but look at those temperatures. Upper 20s next couple of days, some flurries on Thursday, even colder on Friday. Temperatures stay cold through at least the middle of next week.
Gary, thanks. Thanks for joining us for News 3 at 10.
Do something good, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app and start planning.